Hey guys, Uncommon Ramen here again. Today I received yet another Kickstarter. We received Tiny Epic Dungeons, and in honest truth, I did get the expansion. And as I was trying to mention before, this box is the same size as any other Tiny Epic box. So the minis in here have got to be absolutely tiny. And I'm kind of excited for that because the entire time that this was in production, I was kind of scared at how big the minis were going to be or how they were going to box this. You'll notice this box here is about the same size as the expansion to Tiny Epic Pirates. So we're not looking at anything super big here. So let's just jump in and see what these look like, yeah? Tiny Epic Dungeons is a dungeon crawl. I believe it's cooperative. Let me just double check here. Yes, it's a cooperative game split into 2 acts. So yeah, let's take a look. And I think Stories adds, 2 more minis and some extra new stuff. So we'll look at that too. We have the deluxe edition. Got to get those mini expansions. Right. It's a heavy lid. So first off, we also have to showcase the art inside the lid because they always do something like this, and it's always pretty cool. This one's just them diving into the dungeon. We got ourselves our rulebook here, so we're going to look through this real quick here. There is a lot of content here. Tons of the little wooden meeples, 8 total regular miniatures, a bunch of large cards. This is ambitious. I would say probably this is one of their most ambitious projects. I want to say right next to Tiny Epic Tactics. Because Tiny Epic Tactics used the entire box as part of the terrain. But this one just has so much in the way of components. And I'm wondering if it has any similarities to Super Dungeon Explorer without having a 1v all feel to it. If I am going through the rules too quickly, just pause the video. I'm going to try and make sure that we're looking at each of the pages long enough so that if you pause the video, you can look at it pretty easily. But that being said, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time just running through just the rules. And as you can see, there are quite a few. This is one of those games where I believe there are tutorials available that might make it easier. Sorry, my thumb was in the way there. And watch it played, so if it seems like there's a lot to digest here, definitely take a look at this watch it played. That's how I did it with Tiny Epic Zombies, and it turned out that as many rules as there are here, Tiny Epic Zombies was actually relatively easy. This is one of those things, it does not matter how many pictures or diagrams you throw in here, this is going to be an undertaking. There is a solo play here. And then we have this little fold-out section here. We'll take a look at the reference really quick. And then we'll fold it out. There's Wow, there's so much going on here. As I said, this is ambitious. This looks like, for as small of a box as it is, this looks like it could be a full-on game. What does it say for how long it takes? 30 to 60 minutes, it says. So you can finish a game in an hour. And let's be generous here, probably an hour and a half, if you don't consider, or if you consider rules the learning component. Next up, we have the expansion stuff for the deluxe edition. We'll put those aside and we'll look in those later. Let's take a look at these minis because they actually are pretty substantially sized. But there's just enough room in this box, which I'm so shocked they could manage that. And these minis are not cheap by any means. I cannot get a focus. Can we get a focus? There we go. They're actually really well done. Am I gonna have to refocus it every time? Come on. Wow, I cannot get a focus on these guys. Well, it looks like that's the best focus we're gonna get. These guys are just so small. Let me see if I can do it this way. There we go. Much better. I'm gonna be honest with you, I did think they were gonna be probably a third or 2/3 this size. So, maybe a little bit smaller. So I mean, for the quality of what you're getting here, these are actually really freaking well done. Incredible minis. I think this is the first time. No, absolutely. This is the first time that they've done just regular miniatures as opposed to having meeples that carry weapons. But I'm assuming that, we're not looking for another Tiny Epic quest, right? This is a different game, so we don't need those weapon-toting minis that are in Tiny Epic Quest, Tiny Epic Zombies, and Tiny Epic Mechs. I'm a huge fan of the Tiny Epic games because these are really honestly super small boxes. You can fit in an IKEA shelf 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stacked on top of each other, and probably 3 rows. So 16, 32? No, I am way off on my math there. 24. You could fit about 24 of these on your shelf if you needed to, and obviously there's not 24 Tiny Epic games. But for what it is, they deliver such an incredible game experience. It always feels like a full experience. So next up, we're going to have a whole bunch of wooden tokens. So let's take a look inside of here and see what we got. Okay, we got 4 little lightning bolt things here. So these are probably, let's see, how many players can you play on this? Up to 4 players. So these are probably keeping track of some sort of thing in your player HUD. We got 4 little hearts, which it stands to reason that these are probably keeping track of your life. Got a couple of these little circle tokens here. There's 4 of them, so I'm assuming these also keep track of something on player boards. Oh no, I lied. There's 5. Okay, so I don't know what these are. We have 4 little gray hearts. I just dropped one. I don't know what they're for, but we got gray hearts and red hearts. I would assume not good things. We have a bunch of these little lock tokens. So maybe we're going to have to pick some locks, find some keys or something. Very cool. Keep dropping these things. Next up we have what I think is the boss tracker. Just keeps track of where we are on maybe threat. I have a little cheat sheet here somewhere, but I don't see this on there. So, and then the last things that we have in here are little meeples for what I'm assuming are the creatures that you're going to be encountering in these dungeons as you delve into them. Although we do have one here that looks like a torch. And then we have these little goblin-looking dudes. We have a little spider. No dungeon is complete without a giant spider. What can only be described as a gelatinous cube that's not cube-shaped. And again, no dungeon is complete without one. Giant snake of some sort. So that's foreboding. We have this big ogre-looking, brutish. Looks like he'll kill you in one hit. Another ogre-looking dude, maybe a troll of some sort. Got some sort of skeletal revenant type here. A lizard warrior who seems like he could mess you up real good. And a minotaur, because again, no dungeon delve into a maze would be complete without a good old minotaur covering all those bases. Right, what's up next? We got some dice here. I do want to take a look at these because these are some really pretty dice. These are probably the best looking dice that I've seen from Tiny Epic games. These are just really, really pretty. They're engraved, so we're not going to have to worry about faces rubbing off. And the coloring on these is just beautiful. And then we got some here, again, engraved, so we're not looking at, low quality. Those, actually, I'm really impressed. I like these dice. These dice are really nice. Next up, we have boss mats and other large cards. That's what I'm going to assume. Because this guy right here, the dragon, he looks like a boss. And, it's a dungeon delving. You're going to face a dragon at some point. He's probably going to mess you up real bad. Got ourselves a Hydra. You can't complete a dungeon without a nice little Hydra in there. I'm sure he just wants to hug you and have some fun. A Goblin King. He doesn't look like a goblin. He actually looks like a goblin on some serious steroids. Got ourselves the Pharaoh. Because, what dungeon would be complete without a lich of some sort? A Gorgon. If you start seeing statuaries, those statues are probably there for a reason. We got the Seer. Straight out of D&D, a beholder of some sort. So are these player mats? These have to be player mats. This is Grok Ul, half-orc barbarian. Which is probably why you don't have to worry about them carrying weapons in their meeple. Because we all know that Grok Ul, the barbarian, is going to carry that little fire axe for the rest of his life. Which could be very well short. We got Itherna, the elf sorceress. Very nice. Uliessa, dwarf cleric. Okay, so there's a player aid on the back too. which is super helpful. So if you're not playing the character, you can flip it over for a player aid. And on the back of the boss cards, they actually have this little thing here, which is probably where these gray hearts go. And that is foreboding, to say the least. Next up, we have Calais, or Calais, or however you want to say it. And again, he looks like he just wants to hug you. He looks very friendly, very approachable. Got Moonblade. Another very approachable Wood Elf Rogue. Sir Lannon. Human Paladin. Gerund the Blue, Ancient Wizard. Got, what, 2 cards after this? Okay, so we got Thornden Firebeard Braid. Dang, I'm just all about mispronouncing this. Thornden Firebraid, Dwarf Fighter. We have a little tracker here. This tracker most certainly is not a good thing. It does appear to be a dungeon tracker of some sort as far as like levels are concerned. What is up next? We have a stack full of these little square cards. We got ourselves Stabby Goblins here. So this is probably our dungeon and the units that we'll be facing. Let's do some, yeah, let's see what we got here. Are these double-sided? These are not double-sided. We got a Stabby Goblin. Another Stabby Goblin. We got a Boomy Goblin because, you know, these are suicide bombers. Let's just go for it. We got a Pokey Goblin. As opposed to the Stabby Goblin, this guy's gonna try and poke you from at range. We got a Shooty Goblin. As opposed to the pokey one, he's gonna shoot at even further range. So a bunch of gobs. Like our goblins. Alright, next up, I'm going to look at what appears to be loot, and we're just basing that off of this little backing here. That looks like a loot bag. Got ourselves a crossbow, a hook shot, a ruby figurine, a jade figurine, an amethyst figurine, a sun hammer, I guess these are plussing to different stats, spiked buckler, elven chain, violet cape, cursed dragon scale, long sword of the lion, shield of the lion, plate mail of the lion, greaves of the lion, great axe of the bear, throwing axe of the bear, warhorn of the bear, studded jerkin of the bear, claw of the panther, longbow of the panther, cloak of the panther, and gloves of the panther, great staff of the phoenix, spell tome of the phoenix, Ring of the Phoenix. Robes of the Phoenix. Okay, so those are our items. Next up, quite a bit of cards here. Next up, we have this weird symbol. Don't know what that means. Is that boss loot? Let's find out. No, it's more little monster dudes. We got ourselves an ooze, a troglodyte, a minotaur, an ogre, a troll. Guess I was right on my assessment there. A skeleton, a dungeon crawler. I mean, that is a massive spider by comparison. I mean, giant, not like friggin' massive. Dire serpent, which is even bigger. I don't know what those guys are. They're like mini bosses, basically. I mean, they're scary town by comparison to those goblins. All right, next is this rooms. Well, let's take a look. We got these guys with the backings. I assume these are different types of rooms. So we got what looks to be like a door. A really foreboding webbed up room. Bridges. That's not foreboding. Oof. Let's be honest. Should probably not delve into a dungeon. It's very perilous, and sometimes I wonder if the artifacts are actually worth it. I mean, you just might become part of the scenery, you know? Your skeleton. You got a problem if you can't get it into the vault. Sleeping goblins. This is the best kind of goblin aside from a dead goblin, because you can sneak up on these guys and kill them. Door to what appears to be an armory of some sort. Witch's cauldron. Some nice runes. A library deep inside of a dungeon. Because, okay, you definitely need a graveyard in a dungeon. This thing, which I don't even know what to say, except don't touch anything. The kitchen. Or break room. Whatever you want to call it. Oh, very nice. Okay. A random portal. More sigils. Even more sigils. And again, you as part of the scenery. More sigils. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. What does that indicate? I can only imagine death. Alright, and some of the last cards, they are not... There is one other card after that, but I assume that card is just the card that lets you go from one floor to the next. And based off of this first card, I'm assuming these are just spells. So we got Chain Lightning. Very classic. Holy Abundance. This is heal. I wish I knew what the iconography meant, because it'd be great to see. Cloud of Death. Fireball. Delver's Luck. Yeah. Conjurer's Gambit. Giant Strength. Eagle's Swiftness. Tempest of Arrows. Dungeon Scry. Dark Bargain. I'm just going to say this right now. I don't care what situation you are in. If you have to make a bargain with something that is clearly evil, don't do it. Invisibility. Elemental Charge. And Claw of Darkness. Also something you should probably not pick up. The purple smoke probably indicates some sort of curse. And then finally, the last card in here is this guy right here, which again, I'm assuming just is the indicator that you need to go up in the into the next part of this horrendous dungeon. And hopefully you don't die in the process. So this is the core part of the game. This is what you're going to get with the core part of the game. Just bring that back on screen so you can see it. All these components, fun stuff. Lots of cards, some tokens, minis, and these big old cards right here. Other than that, there is the deluxe edition stuff, and then after that we'll look into the stories expansion. So this is deluxe edition Kickstarter exclusive stuff. I'm sure you could buy deluxe edition copies retail, and you can definitely pick up the Kickstarter exclusive stuff from the website, Tiny Epic Games website, which I think is gamelandgames.com, maybe? I don't know. But if you don't find it there, you can also generally find these on Board Game Geek's marketplace as well. Do not overspend on this. It's easy to find people trying to gouge prices on Board Game Geek's Geek Market and also on eBay. Do your research first. Check out Gameland Games. Check out your local hobby shops because, like I said, some local hobby shops carry the deluxe edition stuff, and then check out the Board Game Geek store before buying from somebody who's clearly just trying to gouge you. All right, we have Potions and Perils. Got ourselves some information in here. For the Potions and Perils mini expansion. It looks like we have 2 new bosses in here. So we got the Demon Lord. Good old Demon Lord. And we have a Lich. Okay, so maybe the Pharaoh wasn't a Lich, but some sort of mummy, but, you know, I guess that is different because Liches are bound to some artifact, whereas mummies aren't necessarily. Demon Lord and the Lich. And again, you know, same backing on these, so some extra new bosses, which means we also get some extra new boss meatballs. Let's take a look at those guys. This guy is clearly the Lich. Little floating phantasm of magic. And our Demon Lord. Oh, these aren't the boss ones, are these? These can't be. That does not look like the Demon Lord. Is that? That can't be right. Maybe these are just new. Oh, let's just keep looking. All right, so yeah, we got a couple new monsters in here. Let's take a look at those. These are probably what I was looking at. No, of course they're not. We got some Mixie Goblins. Because nothing could be more wholesome than a goblin messing with alchemy. Let's see what else we got here. We got these guys right here. So these... Okay, here we go. That's what I thought. This is not a boss. The boss is its own mat. This is a wraith. Which, I mean, a lich with his own little wraith running around. That's scary. And then we have a vampire imp. Imps are terrible all around, but when they're vampiric, I just can only imagine how annoying that would be. We have another room that we can add to it, which appears to be an alchemy lab of some sort. I'm sure it can't be any good. And then finally we have this new card backing, which, based on the symbol, has to be potions, right? So we got an Epic Muggo Ale. Our dwarf would appreciate that. We got some Witch's Brew. Got a Bottle O Energy. A Healing Potion. Why are healing potions by default red? I don't understand that. Mana potions are like... Well, see, this is a magic elixir, and this one's yellow. A Haste Draft. A Mind Tonic. Is that not a mana potion? Because I feel like, again, the blue liquid... Come on. Come on. Let's break from that. Strength Filter. Filter? Filter. Strength Filter. I wouldn't drink that, because that actually looks terrible. Whatever. So those are the potions. That's the mini expansion. Potions and Perils. So we're going to jump into the final bit of content here, which is the Stories expansion. This is a big expansion. This isn't a little expansion. This guy has... No kidding? Are we looking at 8 more heroes? We are. How is that possible? This box is so tiny. It's got 8 heroes, more story cards, more goblin cards, more loot cards. All right, you know what? Without further ado, we're going to jump into it. All right, Tiny Epic Dungeons. Stories expansion, a perilous expansion for Tiny Epic Dungeons. On the inside, we have what appears to be the map of Ogmore, where I believe all of the fantasy-related Tiny Epics take place. So that's going to be our... What? Tiny Epic Defenders, Tiny Epic Quest, and Tiny Epic Tactics. I do believe. Oh, and Tiny Epic Kingdom. Is it Kingdom? Kingdoms? You know what I'm talking about. The very first Tiny Epic. Okay, we have ourselves a Tiny Epic rulebook, so let's look into this guy. This one is much smaller. It's the Adventurer's Storybook, so this possibly has spoilers, so if you are not keen on the spoilers, please don't look at this. Because I'm just going to jump in. I'm not actually reading any of this. It'll always surprise me. But I mean, it doesn't look like it's got spoilers. But, you know, the heck do I know? I'm not actually reading it, so. Despite the fact that this rulebook is definitely smaller, and the pages fit without having to scroll. Oh, that's neat. It doesn't change the fact that this is a big rulebook. We have another map. And then... Shoot, I don't even know what this is. There you go. That's a rule book for it. Let's take a look at the minis. Why not? There's 8 new minis in here, which means 8 new heroes. And you know, when you have 8 new heroes, that means we're going to have some pretty nifty classes in there. Let's see if I can't get the focus. Yeah, first try. All right, so we have this chick who looks like Indiana Jones with the whip and the hat. And why not? We have this guy right here. He looks like a dragon prince of some sort. Maybe a warlock. Who knows? Next up, we have what appears to be a monk in the most traditional sense. Possibly bald with a ponytail. Definitely with the monk vestments. If I had to take my guess, I would say some sort of druid / wild caller. We have a bard. You can't mistake that, because no normal person would run into a dungeon with nothing but a lute, unless they expected to die. Finally, we have, or not finally, we got two more after this. We have, if I had to take my guess, she looks like one of those lemmings that are telling the other lemmings to stop and move the other direction, but I'm going to go with a caster of some sort without knowing anything better about it. And then we have the Gamelin Knight, who's got a, warped plastic sword. That sucks, but, it's probably never going to straighten out either. So, nice little Gamelin Knight with the plastic sword. And then finally, we have this drunk panda bear, because apparently in every story where a panda is human-like, they're also drunks. So, that's just canon, I guess. That was our drunk little panda bear. Before we jump into those classes to see what they actually are, because I'm sure I butchered all of those, we're going to look at the meeples. So we got another one of these guys, except this one is brown instead of black, so I don't know what that means, but it's good to note that that's there. We have two more of these little gray hearts, which scares me, and then we have some more fun little super minions, I guess, that they're not quite boss level, but they're also not just your regular goblins. This guy looks like a fire elemental of some sort. I'm sure this is just a marker, so that's cool. And then this guy looks like an earth golem of some sort, so we got some elementals going here. And then yet another marker, A and B. So that's what those are. Right, let's take a look at these classes. If I can open the thing. Alright, so this first couple, and let me just make sure, yeah. These first two are bosses. We have ourselves a little gnome tinkerer. Not a complete ripoff of Gnomeregan at all, Followed by a Mind Lasher, and that is absolutely terrifying. Alright, so those are our new bosses, and then we have our new classes. So let's see. Let's see where I was on this one. We have a Taurus Elf Warlock. So yeah, it was a Warlock. Nice. I said Dragon Caller, and then I said Warlock, so there we go. We got a Clotho, or Glotho. Clotho or Glotho, human psionic. It's a little off on that. I did say caster of some sort, and now I understand why it looks like a lemming trying to stop you. She's using her Jedi mind tricks. We got Zuri Xiong, Pandakin Brewmaster. So, like I said, drunk panda. That's so original. We have Lara Gambit. Lara Gambit? Okay. Human Adventurer. Right? Okay. And again, we have the little relic being there, hidden there, and we got ourselves the whip. So, Indiana Jones in female form. Sir Gamelin, Guardian of the Order. Also probably one of the most epic sculpts aside from his little plastic warped sword. Pretty cool. Then we have Evelyn, Dryad Druid. Dryad Druid. Did I say Druid? I'm pretty sure I said Druid or Wild Caller, so We got our Dryad, Druid. Two more. So we got Nilly Songheart, the Halfling Bard, as if we couldn't tell that that was a bard. And then finally, we got Zenzili, the Human Monk, and for sure, bald with a ponytail. With the normal monk vestments. So there's our Human Monk. Very nice. And then finally, let's take a look at these. Got some different cards here. I'm going to separate these out really quickly. All right, let's see. We got two new goblins, or possibly one and just two copies of it. A Mighty Goblin, which just appears to be a very heavily armored goblin, which I would say does pass for Mighty. And then we have a Spelly Goblin. Yeah, Spelly Goblin. Oh, I guess this is part of the expansion. I should probably keep them separate. Got to put it all back in a different box because I'm sure it doesn't fit. All right, we got ourselves some new items. We got the Mage Blade of the Scarab. Mage Blade of the Scarab. We also have a Ward of the Scarab. We have a Vestment of the Scarab. We have an Orbs of the Scarab. Don't really know how that's an item, but okay. With the Fangs of the Viper. The Smoke Pellets of the Viper. Shadow Gi of the Viper. Eyes of the Viper. Got a dungeon map. Couple of bedrolls here. Everlit Torch. And a Ceremonial Spear. So got a couple new sets there, plus a couple extra new items, bedrolls and whatnot. We have those two elementals, so let's take a look at that. We have a Fire Elemental. And a Golem. Cool. We got some new rooms here. This one appears to be a descending staircase. What appears to be a prison of some sort with some actual live decorations. An statue, or possibly an elemental, but based on the base, I'm going to say a statue of some sort. A very dangerous room. Don't smoke in here. And a non-foreboding well. We'll go with that. Non-foreboding. Last but not least, we have these things here. They appear to be stories of some sort. Sacrifice a minion. Rescue the adventurers. A dimensional debt. The Golden Phoenix. Oh, okay. The Pyrotechnic Heist. Curse of the Hobgoblins. These set up stories, I guess? Purify the Aquafire. Okay. Scry into the future. If I had to take a guess, I would say that these build some sort of story, which, you know, makes sense because the expansion is called Stories. Very interesting. So that is Tiny Epic Dungeons, the most recent Tiny Epic game to be released. And honestly, this one is so far probably the most epic. I actually do believe that this one is right up there. Looking at the games right now, and let's see, Tiny Epic Pirates came out most recently, and honestly, Tiny Epic Dinosaurs was way more epic than that. So this definitely takes the cake, because this one is in such a small box, but seems like it has so much depth. I mean, we're going into a dungeon that is possibly multiple floors, um, gearing up our characters and taking on bosses, and it just looks amazing. And honestly, again, this isn't a surprise, but the production quality for this game was absolutely incredible. Um, the meeples are just downright gorgeous. The minis on here are way more than I could have expected. Let's be honest. These are just super well done. Um, it could have gone a lot of different directions, and these minis are just absolutely incredible. So definitely kudos. I can't believe they got it into the box. I honestly thought this was going to be the first Tiny Epic where we were going to see the box just being bigger. And granted, yes, the expansion is in its own box. So was Tiny Epic Pirates, and the expansion to Tiny Epic Tactics was in its own box too. So, you know, sometimes you have to break the mold a little bit. They don't go too far outside their footprint, and this was just incredible. So if you like the video, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them below. Let's keep them positive, folks. I will be removing any negative comments. They're just not necessary. And if you feel the need to support me, please head over to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/uncommonramen, capital U, capital R. I do all of this in my free time, so any amount of support can help me bring more of this content more often. So, definitely check me out over there. And yeah, guys, until next time. Peace.